What do you do if you're chasing Kyle Pitts and Puka Nacua in the FFPC Main Event Championship round? What are we doing with the Arizona running back / spinal tap drummer situation going on in Phoenix? And how do you handle the best way to move up the leaderboard in the FFPC Big Gorilla Tournament? We've got a great show for you. We have the fourth place team owner in the FFPC Main Event, Chris Terrell, joining us tonight to talk about DJ Moore, Dalton Schultz, and so much more. We've got a great show for you. Ferrell Elliott is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than me, the lesser.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man, nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and Ferrelliacs. Welcome into the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. That's the Fantasy Football Players Championship at myffpc.com. I'm Eric Balkman. I'm a slightly above average host. My co-host is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, one Ferrell Elliott. Coming up on tonight's show, we have a lot to get into as we enter week 16, ladies and gentlemen, including topics including, I beg your pardon, but not limited to the new wide receiver signed to a big deal in Jacksonville. We'll also be talking about Theo Johnson against the Vikings and Brian Thomas, Ladd McConkey going on this weekend in tough matchups. Should you be starting one, both, or neither of them? And then Chris Terrell is also going to join us. He stands coming into week 16 in fourth place overall in the FFPC Main Event, a competition that will pay $1 million to the grand prize winner. The FFPC Weekly Challenge is live right now over at myffpc.com, myffpc.com. There's no draft. There's no salary cap. You just pick 10 or 12 players, depending upon if you want to play with kickers and defenses. You can win up to $2,500, 10, 30, and 100-team contests, only one player per NFL team. So if you want Trey McBride, you cannot have Jacoby Brissett. If you want Josh Allen, you can't have James Cook. That's all available at myffpc.com. And special twist on it this week, we have a Saturday challenge as well, since we have Saturday games going on tomorrow with kickoff at 4 p.m. So there'll be a Saturday challenge at 4 p.m. There will be a Sunday challenge, our normal Sunday challenge that will go off at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday as well. So, and by the way, I mentioned 4 p.m. That's 4 p.m. Central. So it's 5 p.m. Eastern. Got my time zones mixed up. Sorry about that. You don't want to get your time zones mixed up for the world famous FFPC playoff challenge, because in that, if you plunk down $200, you're going to be eligible for $500,000. If you fork over $35 in an entry fee, you're going to be eligible for $100,000. There is no draft. There's no salary cap. There's no convoluted rules. You're just picking 12 players in this competition, one player per NFL team. So like I said before, if you want Bo Nix, you can't have Cortland Sutton. If you want Drake May, you cannot have Trevion Henderson. Register now, myffpc.com, myffpc.com. You can't build the teams quite yet, but what you want to do is get those teams set aside so you have the opportunity to build those teams. Once we know all the playoff teams in the competition, it's one last chance at a big score at $500,000 here at the FFPC this year. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, get notified each and every time we go live, which will be this show will go live 10 p.m. next Friday. Give you more on that. And then this channel will go live this coming Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'll give you more on that before we sign off tonight. Now, I've been talking a long time. You're obviously wondering, Balky, where's Ferrell? I'm going to bring him in right now. He runs the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship at KFFSC.com. If you want to play in that, he is launching the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship Super Sunday Drafts, Super Bowl weekend, or the Pro Football Championship weekend, I should say, at Caesars Southern Indiana. I'm going to be there drafting 9 teams live. You can be too. Check it out at kffsc.com. Please welcome in the architect, the genius, the man, the myth, the legend behind the KFFSC, Mr. Ferrell Elliott. Good evening, Commissioner.
Buddy, how are you? What a fabulous introduction. This is really great. You know, reading in the message for us, you see the guys that are coming in, commenting early. Adam Hahn had a Heidi game moment last night. He gave up on the game, and he's saying never again. And Adam, you wouldn't even 4 scores in the fourth quarter. You can't do it. You got to stick with the game to the very end. Wasn't that fantastic last night, Bob?
So much fun watching it. I had Puka Nacua going in a few leagues, so that was fun. I thought the performance by Kenneth Walker got me going as well. I think there's a lot of people that had, you know, like Adam Hahn gave up on the game, had given up on Kenneth Walker.
Oh, man. That's all I could talk about.
And both Walker and Charbonnet get in the end zone last night. In fact, I think all the running backs, Ferrell, in this game got in the end zone except for one Kyron Williams. So it was very interesting. It was a classic game. I think Amazon Prime Video had to be super psyched to get the de facto NFC West Championship game on Thursday night. They got a great game, too. It was fantastic. For anybody who says Thursday night football does not do it for them, I question whether you like football.
We got one this weekend. You know, who's the beautiful blonde girl that hosts with 4 guys on the Amazon?
Carissa Thompson.
Yeah. Oh my goodness! And she announces that you know, all the Seattle fans that left in the third quarter, they have cameras. They know who you are. You know, it's a big. I tell you what, fantasy players couldn't leave that game. Just couldn't leave that game. And I know Adam Hahn's a great fantasy player, but you know, you just couldn't leave that game. It was fascinating. And though that stack of Stafford and Puka Nacua, along with JSN from Seattle, all of that, Barner, the tight end, has propelled some of the teams up to the top of the KFFSC, and I'm sure the FFPC as well.
Smith and Jigba had a bagel at halftime. He ends up with 8 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. And Ferrell, this is 2 consecutive Thursdays now where we've seen championship leaderboard defining performances. We saw it from Kyle Pitts in week 15 and now in week 16. Puka Nacua, 12 catches, 225 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I'll say this as well. It's not on the rundown. I'll just bring it up right now. Sean McVay already said today that he does not expect Devontae Adams to play next week against Atlanta, which would mean it is wheels up for Puka Nacua. Could be the truest form of a league winner this year in the FFPC and in the KFFSC. More to come next week.
Nikki Banks sent us a heart, and she asked for advice last week. We must have done something right. I can't remember her question. But
yeah, I can't remember either. I know she asked me. I think she was hanging out in the FFPC Insider Access chat last night as well with me and Nico Rossler.
You mean she's been 2-timing me?
Yeah, and she might have been 3-timing you, because I think she may or may not have been in the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown this past week with Brent and Mark Messina and myself as well. So I don't know.
I did not know Nikki was getting around like that.
Well, listen, she craves fantasy knowledge, and God bless her, she's come to the right place. Not for you and me, obviously, but for our great guests that we have on the show, like Chris Terrell coming up tonight.
Well, we better talk about football then.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's go to Carolina. David Newton, who covers the Panthers for ESPN.com, says Teteroa McMillan is going to play Week 16 against the Buccaneers. He did not practice on Wednesday. He got in a full practice yesterday and today. He is off the injury report, and this is a massive game in the NFC South against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. First time the Bucs and the Panthers have squared off this season. He has failed, Teteroa McMillan, that is, has failed to top 43 receiving yards for not 1, not 2, but 3 straight weeks. The Panthers, I think you can make the case that the way they beat Tampa is not on the ground trying to run Rico Dowdle, Chuba Hubbard at Vita Vea, and all those guys in the front 7 with Tampa. It's through the air, Ferrell. When you consider going for $1 million in the Big Gorilla or the main event this week, how nervous would you be about deploying Teteroa McMillan in what should be a good matchup, but a guy who's really not been performing up to snuff as far as being a receiver on $1 million winning team over the past 3 weeks? one of these weird, balancing the matchup versus the previous performance and the talent. That's the third part of this scenario as well.
Our beloved Drew Baselli called me out on this. He says, so you guys don't consider who's on the roster. And so we can't dig through the whole show to consider who's on the roster. But Ted McMillan, if you have a player that you think over this season has shown skill sets that's better than the 37th overall in catches, because that's what he is. So what does that make him in here? A number 2 receiver, 37th in catches?
No.
Number 3 receiver?
That would make him a high-end number 4.
No, Balky, you add it up. If he's 37th in catches, how many teams you got? You got 32 teams. What are you talking about? Okay. You're talking about 37 catches. I'm talking about you being number 2 receiver.
Okay.
Number 2 receiver for Carolina.
I'm talking – okay, but I'm phrasing in fantasy circumstances.
Well, that's more important. I agree.
Right. So we're both right because we're talking about 2 different things. Please go ahead.
Well, all I'm going to say is you eyeballed this receiver. The quick answer to this is I don't want to give up on this receiver. You eyeballed this receiver very early on in the spring last year. You said he was your guy. He's 37th in total catches, but he's more like 15th in yardage in the league, and he's 15th in scores. This player is going to get nothing but better, and they're probably – when you look at the coach, who's Carolina got this week?
Tampa.
Okay. When you look at what happened to Tampa against Atlanta last time, you have to basically think that they've seen that film and they're going to draw up some plays to make things work for this player. They want this player to get back on track. This is a player that's got to beat them. I'm gonna bet on a big bounce back game for Ted McMillan this week.
I have a list of receivers here. Well, not a list, but guys that you may be considering over McMillan this week. I think Juwan Jennings, I would definitely play over McMillan. Sutton is kind of borderline. I think I would lean towards McMillan over Sutton. Michael Wilson, for 100% sure, I'm playing him over Terrell and McMillan. And then after that, Ferrell, I mean, it's like the studs, so I'm very bullish on McMillan this week. I think he gets it together against Tampa as well. So we'll see what happens there. Michael Carter, according to John, his head coach, Carter is going to start against the Falcons this week at running back. Theo Mackey reported this, who covers the Arizona Cardinals. Bam Knight is on injured reserve, along with one Trey Benson and James Conner. Dan Williamson was saying this on the Fantasy Empire podcast. I borrowed it in the show open. The Arizona Cardinals running back is now the new Spinal Tap drummer. You don't know when you are going to get hurt, but at some point it will happen. And he, Dan Williamson said he's riding Michael Carter until he gets hurt. This is a team that he's going up against this week in Atlanta. The Falcons are 25th in rushing yards allowed, 24th in yards per carry allowed. Last week, with the return of Amari DeMarcado, Michael Carter still had 53 offensive snaps. DeMarcado was only in on 7. And I think that there's not a ton of people that will be playing Michael Carter this week to keep a lead or to, expecting a big performance or expecting, a high score in the Big Gorilla or the main event to try to climb up the leaderboards. But I will say this. You could do worse. And as far as Michael Carter goes this week, if you are hurting at the running back position, I think you could do worse than him. Don't know if he would crack my top 20 running backs this week, but he's definitely in the flex scenario, not only for the FFPC, Ferrell, but for the KFFSC as well. How do you see this, sir?
Well, I have, full disclosure on this one. The Carter brothers are great pals of mine. His brothers, Dwayne and Josh and Mike, and they have a wonderful business out of Navarre Beach, Florida. And I absolutely love these guys. And so I've been excited ever since Michael got in the league. He's not injured for this game, but injuries have held him back in his career. Now, if you go back to 2021, you've got a 100-yard rusher here. You've got a guy that in his first 2 years in the league accumulated over 1,000 yards. This is a very good player. given an opportunity. I think you get in business with Michael Carter, not because I like him as a guy, but because I understand what he's got to do with this team, and he's been waiting for this chance a long time. I would say that any running back that you feel that you have on your roster that's a little beat up, a little banged up, the game script might not go his way, they might not, whatever it is, you can put Michael Carter in front of this player.
I would not encourage you to try to shoehorn him in your lineups.
Oh, I will.
I know Ferrell will, but I
push
will
him in there. Push him in there like a pair of boots, bulky that you bought and kind of shrunk. Your socks are too big. Push him in.
All right. Ferrell is more bullish, and I don't hate Carter this week, but Ferrell clearly likes him a little bit.
Be bullish. Be bullish on Mike.
You know what I am bullish on is the Jacksonville offense.
Yes.
Considering what they did this past week. The Jaguars have signed their prize trade possession at the trade deadline, Jakobi Meyers, to a 3-year, $60 million extension. This makes him a Jaguar through the 2028 season. It reportedly contains $40 million guaranteed. Now, just to, this is a small sample size, obviously. But since week 10, when Jakobi Meyers joined the Jaguars, he has led the team in targets, receptions, and yards. He's scored the second most receiving touchdowns. And out of the 37 targets he's received from Trevor Lawrence there, he's caught 27 of them, good enough for well over 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. He has played in the slot. He has played on the perimeter. And Liam Cohen seems to know how to use this guy. Ferrell, it's super exciting for anybody who has Jakobi Meyers down the stretch. Let's wide scope it a little bit. You think about the Jaguars offense next year. Trevor Lawrence is going to be back. Travis Hunter is going to be off of injured reserve. He'll be on this team next year. And obviously the Brian Thomas, who is starting to come on a little bit, but obviously had this really dominant 2024 season. Now you have all 3 of those guys, plus Travis Etienne, who had a really resurgent 2025, and Brenton Strange as well. The Jaguars pass catchers and skill position players are absolutely loaded in 2025. The Myers extension, does this affect the way that you think about not only Myers, but like guys like Thomas, Hunter, Strange, Etienne going forward here? When you saw this, I guess, what was your initial fantasy football reaction to the contract?
Fantasy football was that that by the organization trying to identify a veteran player who could come in and change their culture, that you now could elevate all these players for 2026. Too late for me here, because I did not get engaged at the draft capital with any of the Jaguar players, and this will get me involved. And Dom Gazzetti, our great pal Dom Gazzetti, is probably hated to see this player leave the Raiders, but he bet on himself and said, I can do something better for himself. He's going to be a continual beneficiary to the quarterback and to all the other players around him. When he was with the Raiders, it didn't take very long to see, you talk to any of the other receivers and they'll tell you, well, Myers says this, and if that's good investment in time. So to wrap it up, Fantasy Plus for all of the Jags next year, including the quarterback.
A rising tide raises all ships,
yes,
and that is what we have here in Jacksonville. Who's the rising tide? Is it Trevor Lawrence? It's probably Liam Cohen, quite frankly. And
he doesn't score in fantasy, though.
But he puts his players in positions to score in fantasy.
Yeah, I see how you save that there, but I mean,
I think
fantasy
stuff. The AFC playoffs, and just the NFL playoffs in general this year are going to be so much fun. But you look at the AFC playoffs, no Kansas City, obviously, this year. Jacksonville's probably going to be making it. And Ferrell, we could have, dare I say, an AFC championship game preview in Mile High this weekend between Denver and Jacksonville. That's going to be a fun one to see. The Jaguars have been rolling the last month, but this will be the tough defense they've faced probably since October. So it's going to be a good one in Mile High. I want to go to the YouTube chat right now. Ferrell, Jimmy Williams, our good buddy, we were just talking about Michael Carter. Should he be playing Michael Carter this week against Atlanta or David Montgomery against Pittsburgh?
That's a tough one, and it's easy to say Montgomery. Depends on what you need, Jimmy. If you're already in the hunt and you need a solid score you can count on, Montgomery's likely to give you that. If you need points, if you need somebody to step up and score some big points for you, go Carter. Because I don't think Montgomery gets 25 or 30, but Carter could.
I'm playing Carter here, and quite frankly, Ferrell, even if I needed a high floor, I think I'd still be playing Carter with the volume he's been getting. I've been worried about David Montgomery and what's been going on with that Lions offense, specifically with him. You're looking at a guy in Montgomery who has failed to top. He has not gotten more than 60 rushing yards since week 10. And that's it. And before that, it was week 5. And this is a guy who's not involved in the passing game, right? He has not had more than 4 catches all season, and those 4 catches came in week 1. I think I trust the volume with Carter more. So I'm going to say, I understand what you're saying here, but I'm going to say whether you need a high floor or high ceiling, I still think it's Michael Carter this week over Montgomery.
We are in agreement there.
There you go, Jimmy. Brent Studebaker on Facebook, Ferrell. Balky, tell me I'm not dead going against Puka in a head-to-head elimination.
Yeah.
And he also says, Ferrell, go win 4.0. So good luck to you in that league as well. I don't think you're dead going head-to-head against Puka Nacua. You know, when it's 1v1, anything's possible. I'd have to see the rest of your lineup. And while Nacua was awesome on Thursday night, Ferrell, anything can happen and usually does in the NFL. So you are definitely live here, Brent. Would you agree, Ferrell?
Yes, but Brent, when you watch that, you want to die. You want to just feel that you're dead. That's a hard thing to watch. But, you know, can they throw it to anyone else besides Pitt? I understand. And thank you for those thoughts. You know, I was I had the distinction of being an honorary 26er, and I was able to join the 26er 4.0 league. And I got to win 2 head-to-heads and call myself the champ, and I would be gracious and humble to accept that title if I can get there.
If you can get there.
With a lineup of non-performers.
Right. Yes, exactly. We have to get to our guest tonight, ladies and gentlemen, who is not facing the upward climb that Ferrell and I are facing in our leagues, or maybe he is. Because he's going against so many teams in the FFPC main event. However, heading into week 16, this dude found himself in 4th place overall with just 3 teams separating him from a $1 million grand prize. He's joining us here tonight, a veteran of the FFPC Big Gorilla and the main event. Please welcome into the program, Mr. Chris Terrell. Chris, good evening, sir. An early happy holidays greeting to you. How in the heck are you doing on this beautiful Friday night?
Doing great, guys. Appreciate you having me on. Hope your Friday night's been going good.
How was I mean, we're going to get to the Kyle Pitts question here in a little bit, but you know, just take us through what that week 15 was like for you, putting up a massive score and really vaulting yourself into the elite of the FFPC main event championship leaderboard, which you still find yourself. That week 15 had to be something, Chris.
It was something. You know, that team went 11-1 this season. And it was a good team, but it was, you know, sitting around 100th place in the points. And I felt like it was a little bit better. And then all the pieces came together. Kyle Pitts, we just got a little bit of a break with London being out, I think. And so that really helped. But just everybody came through, 253 points. That was a big move.
Well, you know, and you got to be a huge Cousins fans now. You just got to be. I thought that the great Pitts game was a response to the way Cousins was spinning it and the touch that he was putting on the ball. I've seen Pitts that wide open before and not get the ball.
That's true.
It was great to watch. So congratulations on that. Now this week, you have London returning to an offense that I think is the capability and the quarterback to service more than 2 top receivers. And you've got the hot hand. With London returning, what's your expectations on Pitts this week?
History shows that Pitts' targets dropped drastically with London in the game. I'm hoping that London is not quite at full strength and he's more of a decoy this week. I really don't know why they would do that, though, just considering where they are in terms of no playoff chances. So London must be back, and it is definitely going to hurt the performance on Pitts. I don't see any way around it.
Do you think you can get your 15 or 20 points out of Pitts, or are you thinking closer to just low double digits?
Yeah, 10 to 15 is sort of
that hurts. That hurts so bad.
It does.
But you already got the 51 last week, Ferrell. I mean, you already got the 51.
Yeah, but he wants to keep moving. What place are you in, sir?
I'm in 4th.
You hear that, Balky?
Yeah.
4th.
Yeah.
He wants to keep moving.
Although I need a time machine, I need to go back to yesterday because my all-star kicker put up 2 points yesterday. And that's a hurt to the start of this week.
You can.
But
getting back to the Pitts thing, is there, I mean, you kind of already handled this, but I want to ask you, Chris, is there a situation where not that London would be a decoy, but that they would bring him back and that he would be active, but he wouldn't play his full complement of snaps? I guess I know that's a possibility, but how strong of a possibility is that?
Yeah, that is a strong possibility, I think. I think it's, they may want to get him back in the game motion, going through his routes, doing things that he would want to do to finish out the season, but they don't want to put him in any danger of hurting himself long term. So I'm hopeful that that's going to be the situation, and I can grab 20 to 25 points out of Pitts this week. That would be fantastic.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ferrell.
I just said yes, it would, and I'm hoping for you, man. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.
I will say this, Tom Smith chiming in on the YouTube chat right now. Kyle Pitts is banged up with a knee injury. And while he was dealing with a knee injury, he is not listed on the final injury report. He was limited in today's practice as well. I don't know. I mean, like stuff like this, Chris, I see this kind of stuff late in the season. I kind of think that this is just like injury management stuff where they want to keep these guys healthy enough to play on Sunday. Obviously they're not playing anything, but Kyle Pitts is playing for a contract next year too. So we got to keep that in mind as we move forward. Let's see what else do we have here. Oh, Brent Studebaker chiming in on Facebook. I think Atlanta is going to let London play and try to win to ensure the Rams get a worse draft pick since they traded away. There's certainly that possibility as well. I want to ask you just in general, and you can open this up, Chris, to all your teams, but I think specifically what everybody wants to know about is this team that's in 4th place in the main event. The toughest lineup decision you're facing this week, maybe something you've gone back and forth on. I personally like to wait as late as possible in the week to make my lineup decision, so I'm not thinking long and thinking wrong, as I always like to tell Ferrell. Paralysis by analysis. I want to make that decision at the very end of the week. A lot of people are not like that, though. They like to analyze it throughout the week. Have you been hemming and hawing about any of your lineup decisions so far in any of your leagues in going into week 16, sir?
Well, specifically in this one, at the beginning of the week, I tried not to get in my head too much about it, and I decided I'm just going to try to dance with the players that got me here. But I do have an issue because we got Swift not really knowing where we're going to stand in tomorrow's game. And in looking at my bench, I don't love the matchups for a lot of the guys I have on my bench. And so there's a strong possibility that if Swift goes out in one of my flex spots, I'm going to have to put Theo Johnson, which, my thought is his stat line is not going to be great. He's probably going to get 4 for 40, hopefully a touchdown. But I almost value that a little bit higher than I do with the matchups that I have with Jerry Jeudy and Deebo Samuel, other guys on my bench.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, Stephen G is not here, Balky, in the chat room tonight. If he were,
he might not.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, he would be telling Chris not to worry about the Theo Johnson. And by the way, point of order, I accused Stephen G of playing favorites and saying he only listened to 2 other podcasts, and he corrected me. He told me he didn't listen to our podcast, Balky. He told me he watched our podcast. Once again, guest on this show regularly, proving they're sharper than me. Go ahead, Chris. You'll continue that trend.
Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
I have one other, like what I would call major dilemma on my other team that is quickly approaching the top 100. And that dilemma is on the receiver side, I've got to play 2 of these 3. One is Waddle, one is DJ Moore, and one is Metcalf.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
So that is two of the best of those three. And just Waddle is going to scare the crap out of me this week with his quarterback situation. So I'm starting to lean towards Metcalf and DJ Moore.
yeah. I think that's the way I'd go. I'll tell you what. Let's get to the Quinn Ewers question right now, since we're talking about it, because I think that's where I think that the crux of this argument between these three receivers falls.
Yeah,
Metcalf is in Detroit, and Metcalf, and I've heard, John Hansen on the Fantasy Points podcast, two of the greatest names I've heard for DK Metcalf this year so far. Decoy Metcalf is one, and then I've also heard OK Metcalf is another one for Metcalf this year. But he's flashed, and he gets a game this week in Detroit. Should be a negative game script for Pittsburgh. 52.5 is the total, and the Steelers are 7-point dogs. This is like what we live for here.
Yeah.
Really, really difficult for me to say, yeah, you need to sit Metcalf in that situation.
You got to get Metcalf in the lineup, right, Balky? Is that what you're advising?
That's what I'm saying. I'm going with Metcalf.
So who's left? Waddle and who, Terrell?
And DJ Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Oh.
Now let's talk about DJ Moore here. Okay. Moore is playing tomorrow night at home against the Micah Parsons-less Packers. I think Micah Parsons has covered for a substandard Green Bay cornerback room that I think could be exposed by Caleb Williams on Saturday. Unless Jeff Hafley, the defensive coordinator for Green Bay, starts pulling rabbits out of a hat, which I think the guy's brilliant. So there's a very real possibility he does. But unless he pulls rabbits out of his hat as far as exotic stunts and blitzes, I think that Caleb Williams is going to have a pretty good game. And if Williams has a good game, I think DJ Moore is a significant part of that. You look at that game, 46.5 points is the total on that game, which is not a small total between two of the black and blue Norris division cohorts here. So I like DJ Moore quite a bit in this game as well, which leads me to Jalen Waddle for the Dolphins, who is catching passes from one Quinn Ewers, a 7th-round pick this past year. In his first start all season, he wasn't even the backup last week, guys. He was the 3rd string. He has gone from 3rd string to 1st string, the outhouse to the penthouse this week. And now he's going to be throwing passes to Devon Achane, to Darren Waller, and to one Jalen Waddle. Waddle has struggled, I would say, over the last month, even with Tagovailoa. And now you look at the situation that you have, Chris, where you can play Moore and you can play Metcalf, and it's just at the expense of sitting Jalen Waddle. I know where I stand on this. I don't think I'd be able to get Waddle into my starting lineup. Chris, before you weigh in on this, Ferrell, let me know if my reasoning is flawed here.
I think it's the most brilliant segue you've had for the whole season, Balky. and I will tell you this. I don't fear playing Waddle, but against these two players, he's not even in the conversation. But if you're sitting with Waddle and like Khalil Shakir, you might as well go ahead with Waddle. If you're gonna have a rookie quarterback, he's going to target one guy. He's going to lock in on him, especially when there's not a dominant tight end. And Waller has looked great lately, but that was with Tua, and I don't call him a dominant tight end in this passing attack. So I'm not scared of Waddle, but the other two players, especially in the pristine way that you described their upcoming week's activity, it's an easy choice.
If I was to present the counter argument here, Jimmy Williams does a pretty good job of it. Miami has a plus matchup with a kid at quarterback with nothing to lose, but plenty to win. Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, and Darren Waller have a right to be relevant. Start Jalen Waddle. And I will say this, the Dolphins are hosting the Cincinnati Bengals, who at least I have said on this podcast all season long, start your players against the Bengals. I don't think that's breaking news or a hot take or going out on a limb. So there is something to be said for that. 47.5 is the total on that game, and the Dolphins are 4.5-point underdogs. So there is that to be said about Jalen Waddle. But I'm just telling you where I stand on it, and I'm still going more in Metcalf here. Apologies to you, Jimmy Williams.
And there's a lot to be said, Jimmy Williams. There's a lot to be said. This is why you're in fourth place. These are the kind of decisions you have to make.
It's true.
Yeah.
Do I want to spend gold or silver? Well, I don't know.
Yeah. The other thing I want to get to, and I think we talked about this with Joel Durrance last week, Ferrell, about the Dalton Schultz play. Schultz,
we did.
Gets the Raiders at home this week, and you look at this game. I think that there's, on the surface, this looks like, it's like you go to a steakhouse or whatever, and they serve you the steak, and that porterhouse looks so good. And you're ready to rip into it. It's going to be delicious. And then you kind of look at it a little bit closer, and you cut into it, and you're like, God, this isn't the greatest piece of meat I've ever had. It's a little tough. It's a little chewy. And I think that's what Dalton Schultz is this week. This Raiders matchup looks awesome. Oh, my God. Houston gets the Raiders at home. Sign me up. I'm going to start Nico Collins. I'm going to start, Woody Marks or Jawar Jordan if he's not available. CJ Stroud's going to be my starting lineup. Obviously, I'm going to place Dalton Schultz in tight end premium leagues. But the total on this game is 37.5, and the Texans are 14.5-point favorites.
Yes.
Is there something to be said here, Chris, about Dalton Schultz maybe having like a 2 for 20 showing with the Texans still winning by 3 touchdowns, with a score of 28-7 or something like that in this game? I don't know. I think if we dive a little bit deeper into this, there's some warts here, and this does not seem to be, or maybe it is, I don't know, this golden shiny play here for Schultz this week. How do you weigh in on Schultz against the Raiders?
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum because Las Vegas is season long. They're like 6th best against tight ends, but really the last 5 weeks they've kind of come to the middle of the pack, and they're more like 20 against tight ends the last 5 weeks or so. Schultz has just not had a week with less than 4 targets, a lot of weeks, 8, 9 targets. And so it feels like you can't take the chance of not starting him. You have to do it. I think you're not going to get a massive week like he just had, but I think that you're going to get a solid week of what you would expect out of him.
What Chris is saying as a guest to this program, Balky, is when you think long, you think wrong. And when you, and in reference to this program, when you talk long, you talk wrong. You're dealing with a damn guy here that did 9 targets last week. You're dealing with a football team that's trying to get on a roll and keep on a roll to be a playoff football team. Did they have that chance, Balky? Do they have a record to get in there?
Yes.
Yeah. I think they're doing okay. They're doing better than some. So what I'm saying is, well, you're in a situation. This guy had 9 targets last week, 8 catches. We said last week, maybe against these teams coming up, that he would approach 80 catches. And what Chris wouldn't tell you, but what I will, is he found the end zone last week. And he might just get on a roll with the end zone. And I don't understand, they 37 in the game. They got 34 for Houston and 3 for the Raiders, So there you go.
My concern is this, and
don't live in fear, Balky, and do not be concerned.
Well, okay. So Schultz, I think it is in FFPC, you really got to find a way to get him in your lineups. But I look at week 14, 3 for 22. I look at week 12, 1 for 8. I look at week 8, 2 for 24. Those are the things that you're kind of balancing it out with, right? Because he's had, so 2 for 24 in week 8, but look at some of these games he's had since then. 6 for 77, 7 for 53 and a touchdown, 6 for 51, 7 for 55. Ferrell just alluded to it, 8 for 76 and a touchdown last week. So I think if you're playing the odds, then yeah, this should be Dalton Schultz week. But as I always tell my wife, I am ready to be hurt again. So we'll see what happens with Dalton Schultz this week. Ferrell, I'm gonna ask Chris about Khalil Shakir here.
Please.
Cleveland is the opponent for the Buffalo Bills this week, and you are looking at a guy in Khalil Shakir. that is, I mean, I think we said this before. I mean, Ferrell, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think we said this before the start of the season. This guy was never going to be the game-breaking spike week guy that was ever going to give you 8 for 170 and 3 touchdowns, right? It's just
We're talking about Shakir.
Shakir, yeah.
I liked him better. I liked him a lot better than you did, and I thought his stats would be. I thought he would be more dependable.
Totally, and that's how I would describe him here. 5 for 65, 8 for 110, 7 for 58, 7 for 43, 6 for 88, 6 for 45, 5 for 69, 6 for 64. That's been mostly what he's been doing this season. Now, prior to this New England game this past week, he did have a 2 for 16 and a 1 for 5 performance against the Bengals and Steelers, respectively. 2 for 16 against the Bengals, for God's sake. Cleveland has shown that they are not maybe the dominant defense that we thought they were in the first 2/3 of the season here, Chris. And so maybe they can be gotten here in week 16. The problem is, at least in my opinion, Shakir does not separate himself from a lot of these other pass catchers in Buffalo. Dalton Kincaid got in a full practice today. I don't believe he's on the injury report, so he's going to go. You still got to deal with Dawson Knox. Keon Coleman is still there for whatever that's worth. You know, there are other players on this offense that Josh Allen just seems to be spreading the ball around to. And I think, like, as far as a high floor play, yeah, sure, Shakir makes sense. I don't know if that's necessarily what you want in week 16, the middle part of the championship round. And now you get the Browns defense. Chris, what kind of production are you guessing that we get from Shakir this weekend?
I'm not expecting a whole lot. I don't think the ceiling is very tall at all. I think it kind of runs in somewhere in the numbers that you were saying, where he could go 5 for 50. But Cleveland in the last few weeks has actually been pretty good against the wide receiver position. Yeah. And so I'm expecting a lot of Knox and Kincaid to come into play. Shakir, you know, it might be less than a 5 for 50. It might be a 3 for 25. So I don't like it at all. And I think it's a good week for the tight ends there.
Cleveland Browns play a very physical defense. I have been told that the problem that he has in games when he disappears is he has a difficult time getting a release in press coverage. And so with that in mind, he's going to get some of that this week. And that's why, Adam Hahn's right. It is the Allen and Cook show.
Mm-hmm. In Buffalo, 100%. We touched on DJ Moore, right, Chris?
Yeah, but I'd like to talk a little bit different about DJ Moore.
Okay, please.
There's some people there's a lot of people maybe that, we watched the stack last night go off there with the Rams. There's a lot of people that I think have some interest in these varied Chicago receivers. So there's a couple of them on the shelf, right? Burden and Adunze. Your thoughts on that aspect alone, because we were comparing DJ Moore against other couple receivers and as well. Just DJ Moore, number one target for the quarterback this weekend. Is DJ Moore in that respect? If you're involved with Chicago, you're involved with DJ Moore, right?
Yeah, I mean that's it's interesting for me because if I go back to the beginning of the season and when I was researching and looking at last year, I made a mistake in a lot of my best ball plays and in a lot of the drafts in the FFPC because I went heavy on DJ Moore over Adunze. And so I paid the price on that for sure, but this is his chance. So, last week, even though he was clearly going to be number one, it wasn't an outstanding week, but he was also playing a tougher defense than he is this week. This week, as we just kind of discussed, they're going to be a little bit more susceptible. So I see a little bit better production from DJ Moore, and I think it's his time. I think I'm finally going to get paid off for the mistakes I made early.
Chris is doubling down in our message. Balky, you throw that up there from Jimmy Williams, who plays here in Kentucky, and I will tell you that his team name is Cubs and Bears.
Yeah.
What Jimmy has to say about it is something I think you can pay attention to.
Yeah, he's telling us right now that DJ Moore should have a good game. Loveland probably the big slot this week in 12 personnel. Good game for both. And we'll see what happens with that. I think he's right. I think more. I don't think more. To borrow a Matthew Berry phrase, I don't think he blows the roof off the doors. But I do think he's pretty good. I think he's pretty good. And Loveland is a guy that I think is very intriguing for FFPC tight end premium formats. I like him quite a bit this week as well. Adam Hahn saying basically the same thing. Obvious top target is DJ Moore tomorrow, but don't sleep on Loveland.
He knows that because he got some extra sleep last night in the 4-0. We were all watching fourth quarter and overtime. Adam's well prepared. He's coming in with stuff.
Tom Smith, every time I play DJ Moore, he gets points. When I bench Moore, he goes off for 25 points. That is the DJ Moore way. That is the DJ Moore way.
That's why you got to quit drafting DJ Moore.
I mean, don't even give him the opportunity to break your heart, right? It's like, listen, if I never ask out the hot cheerleader, she can't turn me down, right?
That's right.
If you don't draft DJ Moore, he can't disappoint you. Although you probably make it all the way for $1 million, and DJ Moore ends up winning it over you because of the performance he has. Okay. What do I want to get to here next? I wanted to get to emails. Just real quick. You touched on Theo Johnson earlier, Chris, and you seem to be kind of bearish on his what his stat line is going to look like against Minnesota. Doesn't sound like you want to play him. But if you do have to play him against the Vikings this week, what do you think he ends up with as far as stats goes this weekend?
I'm feeling a sort of average 4 for 40 kind of week.
Okay.
Minnesota's not scary against the tight end by any means, but they're not really giving up touchdowns to tight ends either. So I'm just kind of middle of the road on him, and he's sort of my emergency if I need him.
Yeah, what he did actually, if Chris was being honest with us, Balky, after your Dalton Schultz shutdown, he immediately we can't see his hands if you notice that. He immediately went in and changed the lineup, putting Theo up for Schultz.
I can verify right now. I'm looking at Chris's lineup. Theo Johnson remains on the bench, and we're still looking at Kyle Pitts and DeAndre Swift and Rico Dowdle tight end in flex situation right now on that. So there you go.
I've got those same players. Why the hell am I nowhere near around for?
Listen,
what's going on?
You got to run pure. Did you have Kyle Pitts with him, Ferrell?
Yeah.
Well, then I don't know. I have no idea.
But I had Allen and Cook to run me through the whole season. So
yeah, I've heard of those guys.
I will say, Ferrell, if you have the same players as Chris and it's not working out for you and you don't know why, it probably has something to do with the player whose name may or may not rhyme with Schmeichel Littman. That'd be my guess. That would be my guess.
Too much Dalton Schultz is what.
Too much Dalton Schultz could be a possibility as well. We're getting some questions in the chat. Chris, I'll throw up the latest one. I meant to do this earlier, and maybe it was Tom who asked me about Jaden Reed earlier. But is Jaden Reed worth a flex spot tomorrow against the Bears? I have some thoughts on this, but Chris, I'll let you weigh in on this. How strong of a flex play in the FFPC is Jaden Reed at the Bears on Saturday?
I think it's a little risky, but it's not horrible. What's the latest status on Watson? Is there?
Yeah. Watson got in limited practices this I believe it was limited practices. He's officially listed as questionable. The beat reporters in Green Bay seem to believe that he is going to give it a go tomorrow, that he is going to play.
Okay. Well, I mean, if all things that we've been discussing about that game in particular, and the fact that Green Bay's defense has slid, we're going to see some points, and I think they're going to have to air it out to kind of keep up with Chicago in that regard. So it's not a bad play, really. Good ceiling potential.
Yeah, I'm with you on this, Chris, and I'll say this, and people who listen to a lot of podcasts other than this one, which why would you? But I get it. I do it. The Bears, I believe, are the worst team. I got to phrase this the right way. They are the worst team in the NFL in defending the slot as far as fantasy performance goes. In other words, if you have a slot player going up against the Bears, that is the best possible defensive matchup you could hope for. And Reed almost exclusively plays in the slot. So he will be flexed out in all my KFFSC leagues. I think he should be flexed out in the FFPC as well. To Chris's point, I'm not expecting, 10 for 130 and 2 touchdowns, but I am expecting somewhere between 80 and 90 yards. I am expecting between 6 and 8 catches tomorrow. So I do think Reed has a good game.
That sounds like a guy you play, Bo.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'd be playing him. And then obviously if he gets in the end zone, that's even amplified that much more. Tom also saying Jacobs may not play. Yes, he did not practice all week. But this dude's a warrior. I believe the Packers know that they cannot afford to have him miss this game. And what's the easiest way to keep him fresh? Hey, let's not practice him all week. So I do believe he goes tomorrow, but I will not be surprised if it's Emmanuel Wilson starting that game on Saturday, with the Packers having another Saturday game next week at home against the Ravens. I think he plays, but I do remain open to the possibility that he doesn't. All right. Let's go to emails here. I think I want to do. Yes, let's do emails. This first one's from Steve in Canby, Oregon. Good old Canby. He wants to know, hey, Chris, what do you think Travis Kelce does over the next 3 weeks with the Chiefs?
Ooh, that's good.
Nothing. That is Steve in Canby, Oregon. Obviously, Kelce, and by the way, Steve, we appreciate the email. Chris, this is interesting because for the first time since, Abraham Lincoln was president, the Chiefs are not making the playoffs, which is insane. And it's week 16. It's not even like the final week of the season. How nervous would you be about deploying Travis Kelce in tight end premium leagues, not only with the Chiefs not playing for anything, but with Patrick Mahomes on the shelf and Gardner Minshew throwing to it?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to look at this. And the first one is, if you listen to him, what he's saying, then you've got to believe he's going to be playing hard. They're going to be playing hard. He's saying all the right things that, the fans expect us to come out and perform regardless of where we stand on the season. That being said, there's got to be an emotional level within inside all of these players that they have not experienced in the last 10 years, the letdown that's going to maybe affect just really how hard they do come at the next 3 weeks. And so I think it's a tough conundrum, but I think having Minshew actually helps, because when you got somebody like Minshew in there, he's going to be looking to throw a little bit more underneath as opposed to downfield. I think, just safety plays here and there. So, catching a 10, 15-yard ball for Kelce, he might do that 3 or 4 times a game. So it's a little.
I think the quarterback looks for Kelce. I think those two have a close relationship. I think those two. I think Kelce wants to be as successful as he can in this role. And you got it. You guys got it right. There's some places maybe that it doesn't matter as much, but to a Kansas City Chief fan, you got to show up. You got to play. This is a family business in Kansas City. They talk about the Jones family owning the Dallas Cowboys. They don't talk as much about the Hunt family owning Kansas City Chiefs, but it's a bigger dynasty. And it's that's the culture that they have there. I expect them to come out and play it. I wouldn't be scared to start Kelce.
Kelce, to me, Matt Shelf was talking about this on the Draft Sharks podcast earlier this week, and he said Kelce doesn't strike him as the type of player that just mails it in. Like, he's a proud guy. He's in popular culture, obviously. And Roto World actually pointed this out. I don't know if I didn't realize this, guys, but he would need, over his last 3 weeks, 203 receiving yards to become the oldest tight end in NFL history to record a 1,000-yard season. So
I'm sure that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure
for that very reason.
Right now is the time to be selfish, right? I mean, you can't win a Super Bowl this year. Go out there, get what you can. These could be the final 3 games of your career.
What's number 83, the tight end on Kansas City's
Noah
name?
Gray.
Right.
I think we've all seen enough Noah Gray. So let's just hey, Dom's got a question about tight ends that Brother Terrell might be able to help.
Yeah,
I like the way our names rhyme tonight.
Yeah. We're going to do this right now. Dom Gazzetti, former guest of this show, guest co-host of the show. God, why can I not find it here?
Well, he's asking about Fannin.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, I got it right here. So he wants to know Harold Fannin against the Bills this week, or Jalen Waddle in his lineup, which we've talked a lot about Waddle, but I mean, like let's say non-tight end premium here. Let's say KFFSC here.
Why would anyone want to do? Oh, I guess that would be right.
Yeah, KFFSC is why. So if you are facing this conundrum, would you rather play Fannin or Waddle? I'll reveal how I feel about this. I'll let you go first on this, Chris.
I think it just goes back to the conversation we had about Waddle. I mean, I think there's actually tight ends that are further down the list than Fannin this week that I would rather play than Waddle. Given what we talked about.
The Fannin's one of my favorite players as we move towards the end of the season.
It's in tight end premium leagues, obviously a slam dunk. You're playing Fannin. We mentioned, at least I went to. You talk long, you talk wrong. Hopefully, I'm not doing that here.
That's not a thing. I just said that once. It's not. It's trying to get a cheap laugh.
Well, you got one for me, and the laugh was because you're probably right on this. I mean, I just, as weird as it sounds, I trust Fannin more this week than Waddle. Not necessarily because of the offense, but because Shadur Sanders is throwing to Fannin like it's a bodily function, right? Like Fannin is getting this massive volume, and it's not the greatest passing pie in the world, but when you're having 70% of the pie, it's massive. So that's why I'd roll with Fannin over Waddle this week. So there you go on that. One more email do I have here? I'm looking for it. I thought I had one. Here it is. Okay. So this next email and the last email of the night comes from Frank in Austin, Texas. And he wants to know, guys, how do you handle the Chargers running backs if Quinnen Williams does not play for the Cowboys in week 16? Thank you so much. We appreciate the email, Frank in Austin. Quinnen Williams, the latest I saw on him is that he is being listed as questionable with a concussion. It is a full practice for Quinnen Williams today, which is good, but apparently he's still in the protocol. So that's one of the peppers in the gumbo we have to figure out here, Chris. Will Quinnen Williams play? And then number two, how much is Kamani Vidal eating into Amari and Hampton's workload, where these guys might both be better off on benches this week until one guy steps forward? Or do you take a chance with one of them? I don't know. Chris, I'm going to let you handle this one here with the Quinnen Williams situation in Dallas and the timeshare that's going on in the Chargers backfield as well.
Yeah, I'm unfazed by Quinnen Williams' situation when it comes to those running backs. I'm more concerned about what you were saying and the timeshare situation, because they're playing the long game here for the playoffs, and they don't want to bring Hampton out and really get him hurt again. I think they're going to spell him a lot with Vidal, and I think you're going to see a healthy share of both of those guys, just because they want to be ready for the playoffs. They want Amari and Hampton to be what he can be when it comes time to win in the playoffs.
Yeah, I love the way Hampton's running. Hampton.
Yeah.
Ferrell, I'm fresh out of emails. It's on you for the final question.
Ooh, buddy, you got to hit it, and you got to hit it strong. And I think with your skill and style, it's going to be easy for you. But you're going to have to tell our guys who they should play. It's written up. It's written up in the lingo that says a player that fantasy owners count on that will not show up for them this weekend. And then you got to come with a sleeper. You got to come with that guy that's going to really put up a 20 plus, maybe a 30 plus, maybe just break loose and flirt with 40. That kind of situation. Like last week, you could have picked the Baltimore defense. What a sleeper that would have been. How great that would have. You can pick a kicker if you think he's going to have more than Myers if you want. We'll let you get away with that. But give us a guy that's a sleeper. Give us a guy that you're normally putting in that lineup, but you better watch out and not do it this week. And you can't use anybody we've talked about before, because that would be redundant.
Well, they stole my thunder earlier on a sleeper when they started talking about Loveland, and he's not necessarily a sleeper because he's probably ranked around 10 for tight ends this week. But on a normal situation, normal week, it's not somebody where you're going to say this guy can get me 25 this week. But I think this is the week that he can get you the 25. So that would be my sleeper pick for the week. And then on your other question on
who you going to bench?
So this is a tough one. It gets just gotten really muddled in Tampa Bay when it comes to the receivers. And so this is a tough one to say, but I think
He's going to say it, Balky. He's going to say it.
Igbuka needs to get on the bench.
Wow. I knew it.
It's
impressive.
Yeah, it's a little bit. I mean, I'm so glad that, you know, all their receivers are healthy again. They've got such a great receiver core, but his target share is just dropping, and I think that's, you know, it's just not going to be his week, and he's not going to finish the season strong.
This is why I host the show, and I don't offer advice, because we have people with real skin in the game that are stronger men than me. Okay. I know Emeka Egbuka should probably be sat this week. I know that. You think
can't do it, can you, Balky?
No, I'm too weak of a man.
I can't even think about it.
Jello infused man that has no backbone. I can't do it, even though I think it's the right call, Chris.
Put Reed in front of Egbuka, Balky. You can do it.
Okay. That I will do. I would do that this week, but that might be my Packers homer green and gold glasses showing up. So I don't know. Yeah. Former guest of the show, Paul Teixeira, is hanging out watching us on YouTube.
Good dude, Paul.
He is. He has to sit two of these guys. I threw it up on the screen. Obviously, this is FFPC tight end premium. Bench two of these guys: Justin Jefferson, Tedaroa McMillan, T. Higgins, Marvin Harrison Jr., Harold Fannin, Colston Loveland, and Juwan Johnson. Now, this is a man who is still in contention, because this is a very tough call this week. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys. He's got to play 5 of them. Guys, I'll throw this out. Well, Chris, I'll throw this out to you first. Is there anybody at first glance you're like, okay, well, that guy is an easy sit? Is there anybody that stands out to you there?
Harrison is the easy sit, I believe. Just coming back from the injury, might not be at full strength. I mean, that's the one that reaches out to me. Now, most people may want to say Jefferson. I'm actually pretty bullish on Jefferson this week. I think he's actually going to get the ball and score this week. It's going to happen.
He has been so close. He had a touchdown last week that got called back.
That's right.
I believe, and I could be wrong in this, I think he's had 2 touchdowns called back over the last 4 or 5 weeks, something like that, something crazy. But I know he got one called back this past week. Adam Hahn is pointing out here, T. Higgins is questionable. I believe he is still in the concussion protocol right now, but did he get a full practice in today? I don't even know if he did, but I think he got at least a limited practice in. We'll find out more on that. So maybe, honestly, guys, here, the easy sits are, I'll throw it back up here, the easy sits might be Marvin Harrison Jr. and T. Higgins, especially if he doesn't play.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Ferrell, if we were to rank these tight ends, how would you rank them between Fannin, Loveland, and Juwan Johnson this week? Fannin against the Bills, Loveland against the Packers, and then Juwan Johnson, who's been like captain, low ceiling, high floor every single week, gets the Jets this week. How would you rank those 3 tight ends?
Fannin, Johnson, Loveland.
Fannin, Johnson. Is that the way you'd have them too, Chris?
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially with Vele out, I think Johnson is going to get a good target share this week. So, yeah.
Okay. So to answer Paul's question here, we're sitting Harrison. Let's assume T. Higgins is active, just for the purposes of this conversation. Because if he's inactive, you sit Higgins. We're still sitting Harrison. Who's the other guy we sit this week then? If we're playing, if Higgins is active and we're sitting Harrison, who's the other guy that we sit here out of these 7? Adam Hahn, by the way, is chiming in saying it's Higgins and Harrison, even if Higgins is active. I don't know if I'll go that far, but
no, let's don't do that, Adam.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to have to say Loveland is the other. Just, he was my sleeper pick, but my sleeper pick is one you expect that is not going to perform, but could.
But when you got 3 tight ends, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way to get your sleeper in the game.
Well, and when you have this talented of a lineup, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a sleeper is a sleeper, but you have all these other guys that should be putting up points. So it's a little bit different if wedging in a sleeper there.
Yeah.
I'm going to check to you guys on this. Even though I do like Loveland this week, I understand Komet should probably be active as well. We could see a lot of 2 tight end sets, and there could be a lot of pain like those Parkinson owners felt last night every time Davis Allen and Terrence Ferguson caught a pass. We could see a lot of pain with Cole Komet being the star over Loveland. You never know. And yes, and we know it's tight end premium, Adam. But I think the consensus that we're coming to on this show is Harrison and Loveland are the sits. Okay. This has been a pleasure having you on tonight, Chris.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
It will be even more of a pleasure if we can get you back on in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it is. If you do end up squeezing this out and getting that $1 million grand prize, it would certainly be quite the story. And you can tell it here live on the air. So until then, we hope the ball bounces your way. We wish you nothing but the best of best of luck in all of your leagues, not just this one that you're sitting 4th place overall heading into this week. Thank you so much for hopping aboard tonight. Enjoy your Friday night. Enjoy week 16, and happy holidays to you and yours, my friend.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Same to you.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. That's Chris Terrell, ladies and gentlemen, hanging out with us here tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour.
Where is Chris from?
He's on the East Coast. He is a North Carolina guy.
Yeah, he was dressed in that Carolina blue. Not only was he dressed in it, but the covering of the dormer window above was in Carolina blue.
They're
Carolina Blues out there. He's not too far from Kentucky. He can come over here and play.
That'd be great.
I'll send him an email.
If we can get Chris there on Super Sunday.
That'd
be tremendous if we could pull that off. Otherwise, we'll see him in August. That'd be cool too. Okay, let's see. Adam Hahn saying the Packers are going down here. You could be right on that. I'm not. We'll see what happens. I have low expectations, and that way I won't be disappointed. Ferrell, what can you say to put Kelly's worries about her tiny tigers to rest? That's from our good buddy Dom Gazzetti. I assume that's her fantasy football team. Did he share anything about this with you?
I do not know the tiny tigers.
Okay, all right.
I do not know them.
Dom, reach out to us. We'll figure that out.
If there's any of them that are single, I would love to meet them.
Right.
Is that what it is? I don't
know. Programming question from Jimmy Williams. Show Friday after Christmas. Yes, that is the plan. Yeah. We will be live at 10 p.m. next Friday with hopefully, and I haven't booked a guest for the show yet, but hopefully somebody who's in the running for $1 million, either in the Big Gorilla or the main event. Ferrell, you know this as well as I do. You've been hosting this show with me a long time. People are always very skittish to come on these airwaves this time of year.
Why?
Because they don't want to jinx themselves. They figure they won't be winning the $1 million. So we'll see. Chris Terrell was not.
Let's have Chris back. If the rest of them are scared, we'll have Chris back. The Tiny Tigers are Cincinnati Bengals. Kelly, just like you, Joe has announced he is not having fun. But unlike you, he doesn't have a host like Dominic Gazzetti. So, it's Joe's in trouble. You're not. So there you go.
Are you in regards to Burrow? We didn't touch on this, and I'll eschew the starter sits tonight. I want to talk about Burrow with you. He's been kind of talking very philosophically about his career, not only in the NFL, but with Cincinnati. You're a dynasty player, Ferrell. Is there anything to glean from what he's been saying? And then when you compound it with his poor performance against Baltimore last week, anything to be concerned about in Cincinnati?
Injury history, you get tired of being hurt.
Yep. Do you think that's what it is?
I think that's a little bit of what it is. Okay. Result history. The team, he's a local guy, and that sold the idea for a long time about the fact that he was there and what it meant to him to be there. So I don't know. A mid-career crisis that he can get through and get over. I think he'll be fine.
Okay. Good to know. I'm not making any wide sweeping change. Like, honestly, the only guy in Cincinnati I'd be perhaps looking to move is not Chase Brown. It's actually T. Higgins. And that's because of the concussion stuff. Like, if I could get 90 cents on the dollar for Higgins right now, I'd probably do that. Maybe even 80, 85 cents on the dollar. I'm a little bit nervous about what his career looks like as he enters the second half of it here. So, and I'm not saying I'm definitely not looking. I'm not looking to move him. But if somebody came to me with the right offer, I might do that in Dynasty here. KFFSC.com is where to go, Ferrell. We say this every single week. KFFSC.com is the home of the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. It is the home of the Super Sunday Sweet 16s, of which there's a lot of red on the board. I just looked it up right now. Time is running short. Open spots are running short on some of these live events that you're going to be having at Caesars Southern Indiana coming up on Super Bowl Sunday weekend. I'm so excited that I'll be there for the first time this year. We also have an online one drafting February 17th. It is the Sweet 16, Super Sunday Sweet 16, Rocky Blyer division, which I was in last year, and I believe I'm in this year as well. So we'll see what happens there. But people can register for that. That will be online, KFFSC.com, and hopefully we'll see everybody at the Super Bowl when the Packers are playing the Broncos in Caesars Southern.
Well, we've only got 7 spots left. And so, 2 or 3 guys are going to take that. We got a big payback that weekend, Balky, with 4 spots left. And I haven't been marketing it very aggressively because we've got some guys that I think are coming to grab those spots. But right now it's open. It's a wonderful event. Don't be scared to draft that early because it's going to get you in the right position to draft your dynasty teams and get you excited about preparing for what's going to happen this fall. And, some of our are in the fall of 2026, and some of our guys that are doing that they're having their best fantasy year amongst their teams that they drafted on Super Sunday. So it's just a great way to enjoy the NFL's premier game while doing the hobby that we love. It's a 96-team field. We've got 7 live spots left. We'd love to have you. And, Balky, wait until you can see the food we got planned for you.
I can't wait for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. I will say this, too. Some of my best KFFSC teams, not only this past year, but in previous years, some of the best ones I had were the ones I drafted earliest. So take that for what it's worth as well. KFFSC.com is where to go for that. Ferrell, I will not talk to you again until after the Christmas holiday.
Oh, I'm going to call you tomorrow. You mean you won't talk to me on air?
Oh, I won't talk to you on air. Exactly. Yes. So I will wish you publicly here a very Merry Christmas, a happy holiday season, and I will see you again next Friday night as we prep for championship week in the FFPC and the KFFSC. Thank you so much, sir.
See you, buddy.
That is Ferrell Elliott, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, the KFFSC.com commissioner. So good to have him aboard. I want to thank him. I want to thank Chris Terrell, the FFPC, Rob Rice, and, of course, each and every one of you. As I said, we will be back December 26th, next Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Guest to be determined, but that will get you set for Week 17 in the FFPC and the KFFSC. If you're trying to get your team set for this weekend, go back and watch or listen to the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown that I broadcast Tuesday night on the FFPC YouTubes. We had the Week 15 21st place main event team owners Brent and Mark Messina back on the show. Good stuff from them. A lot of good conversations on how to make the right lineup decisions in your lineups for the championship round, and some of those lineup decisions put forward in a tangible example as well. So we offer up a lot of players to try to figure that out as well. A lot of fun. Check it out. Next week, we will go live again Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be with 10-time FFPC League champion Duke Viveros, Mankind 777 on the FFPC boards. Duke will join us again on that show, 10 p.m. on Tuesday. Now, the Insider Access show on Better Sports Network was live last night from 7 until 9 p.m. Rotoballer's Nico Rossler was my guest. And if you didn't know this about Nico, that was the first podcast he did ever. And I'll be honest with you, I think if I didn't tell you that, you went back and watched it, like, God, that guy was really good. you wouldn't even have known it. He was so fun, so good, so informative. We got a lot of 6-7 references on the show last night. It was a lot of fun. You can go back and watch that on the FFPC and Better Sports Network socials, and it's also anywhere you get podcasts as well. We will be back with a special Monday episode at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I think I have a guest co-host locked in, but I've only penciled him in. He's going to let me know tomorrow morning if I can put pen on that. So I won't reveal who the guest co-host will be on Monday, but he has been on the show before. He's a lot of fun, and you won't want to miss that Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern time for the FFPC Insider Access Show. The FFPC Weekly Challenge is live. No draft, no salary cap. Pick 10 or 12 players. Win up to $2,500 in 10, 30, and 100-team contests. One player per NFL team now at myffpc.com, myffpc.com. The world-famous FFPC Playoff Challenge also live. No draft, no salary cap there as well. There's no convoluted rules with this. You're just picking 12 players for the duration of the postseason, win $500,000 or $100,000, depending upon if you want to register at a $200 or $35 entry fee. One player per NFL team. That's available at myffpc.com. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live, which will be Monday night, 7 o'clock p.m. on the FFPC Insider Access Show right here on the FFPC socials and the Better Sports Network. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
I'll throw this up on the screen right now. Dom Gazzetti, our good buddy here. Merry Christmas to y'all from Kelly and I. Merry Christmas back at you, to you and Kelly, Dom, and Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, happy Hanukkah to everybody celebrating. 'Tis the season. Once again, very grateful for not only each and every one of you who are watching, streaming, listening to this, to be patronizing this podcast, but patronizing the FFPC as well. We got a big 2026 lined up for you. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned for more announcements on that, including a semi-personal announcement from myself early in January. I don't know if we'll announce it or not. It may not affect you guys and women ingesting this podcast or whatever, but it might affect the FFPC in a good way, hopefully. And that is coming up in January. But before January, we have to hammer out who's winning the $1 million in the Big Gorilla and the main event this year. 5 p.m. Eastern time is kickoff on Saturday. Get those lineups in early and make sure you are loaded for bear and trying to take down these 7-figure grand prizes with the FFPC. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, listening, streaming, downloading. Appreciate all of you for doing that. Good luck in Week 16. Hopefully the ball bounces your way. Ferrell and I will talk with you next Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Be good, everybody.